teach quite a number of languages: French, German, Portuguese, and Spanish, and also we're now trying to see if we're going to introduce Chinese and Japanese. Okay, so I do come up with, of course, my learning objectives. I stated there, and as I said, for 15 weeks they go to site from 4:30 to 6:30 every day, Monday through Friday, and they work with the community partners to empower the students. Students, as I said again, they come from pretty poor families, so they don't even have food. Enough food in the United States, enough food, but good food. We're not talking about McDonald's where people eat and their stomachs get bloated. We're talking about good food. And so when we talk about food insecurity in the United States, we're not talking about the absence of food, we're talking about the absence of good food, good healthy food. So they do that. So we provide them food as well. Okay? And then after that they do language acquisition, and then they get involved in life skill acquisitions like football, dancing, and songs, and so on and so forth. How do I assess these kids? This is what I do. Mess up again. Attendance and participation 20%, class presentations 10%, reflective journal, I mentioned that, 15%, project paper 25%, assessment is 10%, and the expo, this is blotted here, I think there's some witchcraft here. The service learning expo, which we do at the end of the semester, they all come together and then they do their presentations. Students have to do that, and then they get 20%. If you add these totals up, it gives you 100%. So that's how I do my assessment for my course. And generally, those of them who are present and they participate in all these aspects get their total points. I'm not going to give you the chance to ask questions yet, folks. Let me say something about our successes and our challenges and how we've been overcoming that. I'm going to be quick. I talk quick. I see Professor Manahing is feeling very uneasy. Some of our successes up to date is, number one, I have created the Laurelwood Project. Is widely covered by the media in the state of Indianapolis. We have successfully created a visible nexus between the university and the community using this project. Number two, we have engaged through this project in a lot of scholarship of engagement. And what does that mean, colleagues? It means that we can now publish, and we have published. We've published papers based on this project. We have given presentations on this project. Professor Manahing was there. I gave a paper with a colleague in nursing. So talking about interdisciplinary collaboration in service learning and community engagement is very, very possible. I'm in language and linguistics, but I teamed up with a colleague who is a professor of nursing, and we are now partnering in this project. I teach languages, my students teach languages, but my colleague is teaching them health literacy. How do you say brush your teeth in French, in German, in Spanish, in Portuguese, and so on and so forth? How do you say jump around, or do exercises, or run in these languages? So we're doing health literacy on one end, and second language acquisition. So that's one success story. And the other one is the fact that we are also meeting the goals of what we call Vision 2030 of the University of Indianapolis, which is that professors are now called upon. Like somebody said here, it's no longer, this professor here, it's no longer an option. We are called upon as professors to be able to create programs that empower students to engage with the community, to empower students to get in touch with community stakeholders, to create programs that give students a secondary set of skills that they could use as alternative career options. So those are our successes. Challenges. The first challenge we have, folks, and I've heard it over here a little bit, we have problems with interdisciplinary course design in service learning and community engagement. People are very, very paranoid when you tell them you have to co-create curriculum or curricula and co-teach, because people have their specificities, they have their ways of looking at their disciplines as in isolation. So we have come up with a center called the Mega Center. The Mega Center is an acronym for multicultural engagement and global awareness, one of which as I said earlier, I'm one of the directors. And the purpose of the Mega Center at the University of Indianapolis is to bring faculty together under one umbrella so that they don't function in silos. We have to talk together, see how we can come up with collaborative initiatives in service learning and community engagement so that we don't work at cross purposes. So that's one of the success stories. of these kinds of community engagement / service learning initiatives. Number two, we are still grappling with how do we achieve travel away and travel abroad. I think I mentioned that yesterday, Professor Manahem. We really intend, if our proposed marriage comes to fruition, we will be intending to get some students over here where they can collaborate with your students and get involved in projects in the community here in Mafikeng, and to be able to exchange best practices and, you know, come up with some kinds of collaborative initiatives. Then on the other side of it, we intend to invite some of the students who come to the States and see how we do community engagement and service learning in the communities there, and again, they will be able to. And of course, one of the things we want to do is to do what we call capacity building, where we do the train-the-trainer kind of thing with professors here. We can exchange visits that way. So we come with my colleagues and the other professors can go to the States and attend conferences, see what we're doing in the projects in the community. We have two projects. We have Laurelwood. We also have what they call ProAct Indy. It's an NGO in the community that takes care of similar things here, but they have a wider network in the community. So that's the thing. When it comes to travel abroad and study abroad, it's not about money. I think they say they have enough money there. But the problem is breaking cultural stereotypes. I spent a week in Cape Town, and what they know about Cape Town is that when you get to Cape Town, you interacted with animals and lions. So that kind of thing they get from National Geographic, okay, and other kinds of silly media. We have to break it and make them understand that Cape Town is as developed as any other city you find in the United States. The other thing that we want to do is to make sure that we are able to properly assess service learning projects and to see whether we're actually doing what we are supposed to do. We are still struggling with that. Some of us are succeeding, others are not. And the other thing I want to say, this is my concluding remarks. I talk a lot, I know that, folks, but I'm going to stop after saying this. How do we empower, the first phase of my topic is capacity building. How do we build capacity at the University of Indianapolis? The first thing we do is that we get involved in faculty studios. So every other week we invite faculty who are engaged in various service learning and community engagement projects in the community to share the best practices, do presentations and share the best practices. The other thing we do is to, like I said earlier, to just create initiatives that will enable faculty to work across disciplines, to merge those disciplines. And the last thing is the creation of a mega center. I thank you for your listening. I'm going to stop here and take any kinds of questions that you may have. You may be students that are, questions that are pedagogically related in terms of curriculum design, or some of the things that I've said related to my own personal project in the US. Thanks.
The floor is open for questions. So, is there a clean line of distinction between service learning and community engagement?
Yes. Thanks, Prof. It's a very good question, and I think I just touched on that yesterday. I should have mentioned that under the unit that is titled Community Service, did I say that? No, Service Learning and Community Engagement, there are two aspects. Mariana Folkrod, who is the director of that particular unit, does offer opportunities for students to do two things. They can get engaged in service learning, which is a credit-carrying course. They can earn 3 credits after taking any of those, or they can engage in volunteerism. With volunteerism, you don't earn credit for doing volunteerism, but it's a biggie because students can earn volunteer hours that will be written into their transcripts. And as I was mentioning during my talk yesterday with colleagues, if I'm an employer and I find in front of me 2 applications, all A students, and I'm faced with this dilemma of choosing who to offer the job to. The tiebreaker is who is more involved in the community. I will take a look at this transcript, and I will see that this is a student who is giving back to the community that produced him or her. This is a kid that has good interpersonal skills because he or she has been involved with members of the community, and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of thing that we do when you want to distinguish, service learning and community engagement